Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we're going to be talking about some Star Wars 9 news because obviously at this point everyone cares about what happens in Star Wars 9, right? Alright, anyway, so this is saying, is Star Wars 9 really bringing back one of the franchise's biggest villains? And then it shows you Darth Vader, and then the guy from Solo, the guy from Rogue One, and then Kylo Ren. Oh my goodness, who could it be? The biggest villains? I mean, obviously Vader's up there. Ice Vance or whatever his name was called. No, I wouldn't put him up there. He kind of did nothing towards the end. You know, it was a good actor who played the guy from Rogue One, but at the end of the day, it was still, not nearly as good as it could be. And then Kylo Ren, great concept, really cool mask, but then turns into a whiny teen emo kid. And so who is the big bad? Oh, this is not really anything new, but I mean, this is kind of something that's been talked about for a very long time. So spoilers, there will be spoilers, guys. Spoiler. Even though these are rumors, so how can it be a spoiler if it's just a rumor and it could possibly not be true? I've never really understood the concept, but here we are nonetheless. So could Emperor Palpatine be making a return to a galaxy far, far away? Could he? Could he possibly be returning? Could it happen? I mean, maybe. Who knows? Who cares? Honestly, if it's in a flashback, who cares? It might be a little bit of fan service. Say, oh, look, see, it's Emperor Palpatine. See, look, we still care about the fans. We still know how to give fan service. It's kind of too late for that now. I mean, you could throw around names like Emperor Palpatine. Oh, Luke Skywalker's going to be back in some way. We're not going to reveal just how yet because, we just want to make sure that we get your money. And then when you leave disappointed and, the ratings, for the audiences still slump, they'll be okay, though, because don't worry. We still will just want your money. That's what all this is now. I really would not be surprised if this is someone at Lucasfilm just saying, ooh, media, let me just throw some names at you. Let me just see what sticks, see what lands, see if I can, keep the news cycle being, talked about. And it's good strategy. It is good marketing strategy. Keep people talking about your movie because, as I say, any publicity is good publicity, whether it's me just going after the film or someone else saying, oh, I think this is a really good thing, because Palpatine's so awesome, and, I think it'd be a really good idea. I mean, hey, you know what? It might be. It very well could be. I honestly, again, we don't really know anything about Episode 9 at this point. All we can really tell is that it's probably going to be a rehash of one of the original films because that's what JJ Abrams does very, very well. Again, I like the guy's films, don't get me wrong, but every single film he does is usually an homage to something that came before it. Super 8, great film, but totally a ripoff of Steven Spielberg's style. I mean, if you look to the Star Trek movies, same thing, where really good films, but obviously he's borrowing, and besides the lens flare, he's borrowing from other films that have come before. And you could say, there's arguments that can be said, well, every director does that, but there are certain directors that are able to just leave their spot. Spielberg has been iconic for a very long time. Modern day directors that I would put in that category, Denis Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve has probably the most distinct voice, cinematically speaking, of anyone working in Hollywood today. I would even put Alfonso Cuarón in there. I would put Inarritu in there. I mean, there's some really great directors who really have their own style that is very, Emmanuel Lubensky is probably one of the most common themes there, especially among Cuarón and Inarritu, because they both used him as cinematographers, and he's probably one of the best cinematographers with one of the best eyes working in Hollywood today. But even that all being the case, they all have their own unique vision. JJ Abrams is just kind of an everyday guy, which is great for regular movies because guess what? He makes generic films very well that's able to bring in enough money at the box office. The problem with this at this point, if The Last Jedi had not happened, we would not be in this situation at this point. At least, I don't think we would be, because as I've said constantly before, when it comes to the first film, when it comes to his film, yes, it was a total rehash of A New Hope with maybe a few changes, but it was essentially A New Hope. However, there were some really cool things that were introduced. Yes, Rey was a Mary Sue. Yes, there were problems with character, with the pacing, with the development. These are all true things, but it wasn't a half-bad film. I came out of that film saying, you know what? Star Wars is back. I'm excited. I can't wait to see how they improve in the next film. And then, of course, we got Episode 8. Then, of course, we got Rian Johnson. Not only did Rian Johnson give us a total dud, but then he kept attacking fans every time they've been, criticized it. We're still, to this day, being called racist. All right, man babies, you name it. Any name that you can think of, we have been called just because we've been critical of a poorly made film. And objectively speaking, poorly written, poorly developed film. And even though these people don't want to admit to these truths, they still, yap their mouths nonetheless. But all of this this comes back to the fact that they're going to try and throw out these names saying, look, we do care about the fans. Yes, we've allowed Rian Johnson with no repercussions to talk about the fans. Yes, we've allowed Chuck Wendig just to go off and go off and go off. You know, I heard that something about he's been put on probation or something like that. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't believe it, because at the end of the day, you know that they agree with everything that Chuck Wendig says, because Chuck Wendig is just the mouthpiece who has no filter, and he's just saying everything that they're thinking right now. You just know that's the case, because you know that they don't really care about the fan base. If they cared about the fan base, guess what? Episode 8 would never have happened. Hyperspace ramming would never be a reality. The problem is that you have in Kathleen Kennedy, a woman who you can argue can produce and is great at producing things as a producer, but when it comes to being the head of Lucasfilm, the head of the vision of the overall franchise, it is without any doubt whatsoever, without any question whatsoever, she really doesn't know what she's doing. And, everyone's going to say, oh, well, what about the $2 billion that Force Awakens made? Yeah, it made $2 billion, but guess what? It's because people were excited about Star Wars again, and it wasn't a half-bad film. You jump ahead to every other film. Rogue One, successful at $1 billion. Yes, I will agree with you, but still, some people, me personally, I didn't like it. A lot of people did. Most people say it's probably the best out of the Disney-made films. I still disagree with that fact, just from my own personal taste and my own personal thoughts on the subject. But then you go ahead to Last Jedi. Made $700 million less than The Force Awakens. That's $700 million with an M, $1 million less than The Force Awakens, and now you jump ahead to the most recent film, Solo, and they throw every excuse in the book. Oh, it's just Star Wars fatigue. Bob Iger said too much, too fast. Even though anyone with eyes, anyone paying attention to the current state of the fandom, anyone who understands that the fandom just wants good movies. That's all that we want. A generic audience member might be able to sit there and say, oh, yeah, I had a fun time. I enjoyed shoving popcorn down my face. But even those people are starting to say, I don't really need to see that. Ticket prices are going up. I don't really need to spend $15 to go see Solo. And guess what? They didn't. Solo is what happens when the fan base is not supported. Because if the fan base was behind Solo, it would not have lost money. Not even close. It would have made over $1 billion. Because Star Wars is a $1 billion franchise. Every film should be able to make $1 billion minimum. A minimum amount of $1 billion. But the reason why it hasn't is because the Star Wars fan base isn't there, which is why I keep going back to episode 9. They're going to keep throwing these names out there, but until we actually see honest change, given the Kathleen Kennedy, that 3-year contract extension is not honest change. There's some people who say, oh, it's a ploy, it's, just some, it's a smoke screen. Again, show me the facts. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the information that you have, because I'm just not going to believe you otherwise. Again, you might say, I have these sources that are talking to me and I trust them, and look, they've said this before and it's happened. Okay, that still doesn't prove anything, that there's someone in the wings, someone who's going to be coming out of nowhere. I'm sorry, I just don't believe it at this point. But all we can see, all of these moves, all of these chess pieces that have been moved by Disney, by Bob Iger, by people like Kathleen Kennedy, show us that they don't care. They do not care what the core fan base wants. They do not care that, again, I say 50%. Some people say more. Some people say less. I think to say between 40 and 50% of the fan base is a pretty accurate number for people who are not happy, who do not like the current state. And that includes not just the passionate people, but also those who are just ambivalent at this point. There are so many times, so many comments left on my videos, especially when I talk about Star Wars, are this. Dude, I just don't care anymore. Dude, I just don't care about Star Wars anymore. Dude, I was there in 1977 and I'm done. I'm just going to stick to the original trilogy. And I feel that. I understand why people feel that way. I have a little bit more of a hopeful perspective, because I think if the right people were put in charge, Star Wars could be doing great. Just like Marvel can make bank and make profit on every single film. And they release those films every 6 months. So, that alone just destroys any, it's a fatigue argument. No. We might be fatigued of terrible movies, just like if Marvel started to put out really bad movies, guess what? There would be fatigue, because no one wants to see a bad movie. No one wants to waste $15 and 2 hours of their life to go see a movie that's just not worth seeing. That is true. I will admit that there's fatigue with that. But for you to try and say that people are tired of Star Wars content is just ridiculous. You can look to any long-form TV series. You can look to Marvel. You can look to all these different franchises, all these different places, and see that the fatigue you're talking about isn't happening. So why is Star Wars different? Maybe it's because Kathleen Kennedy has no idea what she's doing. Maybe it's because Rian Johnson made a terrible garbage tier film. Maybe he made a film that broke Star Wars, not just narratively, but also the connection between the other films. This is the worst trilogy ever, only because it was like, oh, you're just being hyperbolic. No, think about it. The middle film is its own animal. It was made for itself. You know, even Rian Johnson says he didn't make it for the fans. He didn't make it for anyone else. He made it for himself. He made it for his own vision. But the problem is that you can't have a cohesive trilogy with that kind of a mindset, especially when you have the narrative flaws like he did. So guess what? Who wants to watch all 3 films in a row? You can't just, I'll watch 7 and 9. Well, 8 is still canon at this point. 8 has still been established. 8 has not been retracted at any point. And that is where the problem rises. So, you can talk about Palpatine. You can throw all the names down you want. And guess what? It would be awesome to see the actor that played Palpatine come back. It would be so cool to see that character back again. Preferably in the present, that somehow he was able to escape death. That somehow maybe he was the Dark Master that he was talking about all along. Maybe Snoke comes back. You could have a really cool dynamic there. The problem is that people just do not care at this point in time. And you can keep throwing the names out all you want, but until you fix your things behind your scenes, people aren't going to go see it. But anyway, guys, what are y'all's thoughts about this? Are you excited for Palpatine? The big spoiler alert! Emperor Palpatine will play a role in Episode 9, specifically Kylo Ren with an ignited lightsaber. Presumably his crossguard lightsaber cutting through a blast door on some jungle planet, entering what appears to be a vault. Eventually, Kylo Ren is upholding a square object that projects a lifelike projection of Emperor Palpatine. Oh, so it's a projection. Ooh, yes, that's going to make so many people go to see this film. But guys, what are y'all's thoughts about this? Are you excited about a projection of Emperor Palpatine? Is that enough to bring you back? Is that enough fan service to bring you back? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Also, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. Really does help me out a lot. You are all amazing people. Guys, Saturday is right now the tentative build date for the new PC. So if you've been watching the live streams, we've been raising money. We got there very, very quickly. So I was able to buy all the parts for the PC. All of them are in except for my RAM, which I have a backup plan for. Basically, if by Saturday the RAM isn't in, what I'm going to do is before I start building, I'm going to go to Best Buy, buy the cheapest RAM possible. I think there's like a $50 for 8 gigs of RAM, 2 sticks of 4 gig sticks. And then that way, when we build it, we're able to set everything up, all going to be live streamed. Obviously there's probably going to be some complications. There's probably going to be a lot of sweat and anger. There's probably going to be a lot of things that go on. But at the end of the day, I think it'd be really cool to be able to get everything set up, because then when the RAM does come in, it's easy to just turn off, replace the RAM, update the drivers, and it should be good. But again, I'll find out more from my PC masters when I actually, get to that point. But anyway, guys, if you want to be a part of that, Saturday, sometime during the day, depends on if I'm able to mow my lawn, but probably around 1 to 2 p.m. start time, Central Standard Time for the PC build. I am so excited for it. I got my free screwdriver ready. I got my Intel Optane, which actually I do not need, so I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to maybe try and get my money back, because it's a 32 gig Optane, because I thought I could use it, but apparently I can't, because Intel just does that. But anyway, guys, would love to have you there anyway. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.